Thank you all for joining. We're very happy that you're all taking time, and we assume that by joining, you also agree with us that this is a pretty important topic. Um, Chris Voisey, who leads our security team, is going to be presenting for us today. We are already recording this, so if you object to being recorded, either stay on mute or you agree. Mr. Voisey, I will turn it over to Chris.
Very good. Thank you for the introduction, Doug. I want to echo that very much appreciate everybody in attendance today. Um, Hopefully we will all walk away with some new lessons learned. To go over the agenda quickly, again, the session is about protecting sensitive information from AI exposure. We'll review a bit around the changing landscape of productivity and security utilizing AI tools. We'll talk on more traditional approaches for protection with Defender for Cloud Apps as a CASB. We'll dive into a bit of Purview in the key steps of identifying and protecting sensitive information, utilizing Purview. And we'll talk more about roadmap and future state with data security posture management for AI or DSPM. And then we have a couple demonstrations around a particular case. We'll take a look at the administrative steps to resolve the case, and then we'll take a look at the user experience as a result of the administrative steps that are taken to solve the case. Quick disclaimer, much of the material demonstrated today is based off of a Microsoft Enterprise E5 license. Some of the configurations today that will be demonstrated, again, are based off of a Microsoft E5. Some of the images depicted in the slideshow were gathered over approximately a 6-month period, so the interfaces that are displayed may have changed and quite likely have as the Purview product and, AI tools in general have undergone a period of rapid evolution and are continuing to do so. Balancing productivity and security is critical for the adoption of AI tools. It's very challenging. It can be very daunting. But as we discuss Microsoft's strategy, the goal here today is to try to achieve that balance. And so why are we really here today? Well, because the era of AI is happening now. It's already reshaping every industry, organization, and function. Imagine a workplace where 76% of knowledge workers harness the power of AI to enhance their productivity. This is not a distant future. It's happening today, with nearly half of these individuals adopting AI in just the past 6 months. Consider the impact of saving 30 minutes each day for users of Copilot. That's a reality, equating to 10 hours per month that can be redirected towards strategic initiatives or other work. The business value is undeniable. A McKinsey study reveals that 65% of organizations plan to derive significant value from generative AI by 2024. Now, I realize that statistic's a little dated, but we also know that that has only grown since. And the financial returns, a recent IDC study shows a staggering $3.50 return for every dollar invested into AI. Investing in AI is not merely an upgrade, it's a strategic decision that promises substantial competitive advantages, financial gains, and a happier, more efficient workforce. That said, we do still have to prioritize security above all else to ensure that this new wave of technology always serves and amplifies productivity. Focusing on security first within an AI transformation, organizations receive unparalleled security benefits from identifying and mitigating threats in real time to automatic security operations to reduce the burden on security teams to gaining insights to anticipate and prevent potential security breaches before they occur. All of this leads to increased efficiency and effectiveness in managing security risks. Organizations face numerous security challenges when adopting AI. Some of the reports indicate, based on research, these are some statistics that organizations face when managing the data risks generated by AI apps. First, a lack of control to protect sensitive data in AI. Over 80% of leaders cite the leakage of sensitive data as their primary concern. Second, shows that 78% of AI users are already bringing their own AI to work, which has created a subset of shadow IT known as shadow AI. So users may be using the many AI apps that are out there, such as ChatGPT or Grok, and many more, which are not managed and secured by the organization's IT team. Third, there is a lack of visibility into the vulnerabilities as AI apps proliferate exponentially in every environment. Um, some organizations are also testing, planning, and building their own AI applications. And as a result, there are new vulnerabilities that emerge that we need to identify and defend against. And lastly, but not least, is increased regulatory pressure. Governments worldwide have recognized the potential risks associated with AI technologies. And that landscape continues to evolve with new regulations. The EU AI Act and the NIST AI Risk Management Framework, NIST AI RMF, have emerged. They're part of the reality now. Um, and many leaders lack the understanding of how AI is and will be regulated. Now, for today's purposes, in the case example we're going to look at is we're going to focus on the top two concerns with organizations, and that's around data leakage and shadow AI. And the two quite often overlap. Data security incidents, of course, can happen anytime, anywhere. Uh, Traditionally, we're aware of external threats around phishing attacks, compromises to user credentials, malware, ransomware, etc. We're also aware of data theft by malicious insiders. That's users who may be dumping files to USB or uploading to personal storage. What is very new on the horizon is users negligently or perhaps even maliciously sharing sensitive data in generative AI apps. And again, today's focus is on that new horizon. Now, many from a more traditional mindset may be thinking of a CASB solution or a cloud access security broker, cloud app security broker, pardon me, which would correspond with Defender for Cloud Apps. And they would be right. That absolutely is a powerful tool. However, CASB needs to evolve. Traditional cloud access security brokers have primarily focused on discovering and sanctioning and unsanctioning applications. And historically, CASBs have also been associated with addressing shadow IT, providing initial understanding of activities within an organization's environment, And this focus has been on identifying and managing both, those sanctioned and unsanctioned applications. However, today's world, apologies, um, additional challenges have emerged. Advanced attacks are increasingly moving laterally across multiple domains and solutions. There is a heightened security risk as more and more business critical information resides outside of that traditional corporate network to more cloud hosted environments. And SaaS applications are frequently, increasingly becoming critical assets to business. Given these evolving threats, it's critical to shift the focus more towards prevention and protection. A key component in the strategy is SaaS Security Posture Management, another new acronym, SSPM. SSPM changes the emphasis from managing unsanctioned applications to securing the sanctioned ones. Of course, shadow IT remains a concern. The more significant risk, though, now lies in the vulnerabilities within already sanctioned apps. This shift emphasizes the necessity for security teams to adapt their application protection strategies beyond just the traditional CASB approach. By leveraging information protection and Defender for Cloud apps, organizations gain power of Purview, particularly Purview information protection, applied to their environment holistically. Now, to be clear, the Defender for Cloud apps or CASB solution presented by Microsoft is absolutely still a player and part of that holistic picture. What I am suggesting today is that for that comprehensive ease of mind and protection for your organization's data, the integration between cloud apps, our Defender for Cloud apps and Purview is the ideal. Now, the approach at Microsoft is to detect and classify sensitive information. This is really about understanding where is that sensitive information and what of it is sensitive. Is it all sensitive? Possibly. Is just a portion of it sensitive? More likely. This is really applying those ideas of something that's confidential, highly classified and confidential, maybe not so classified. Is it public event information, etc., and sorting through that and developing that strategy. This, of course, is most likely to be a subject of intense debate inside any organization, large or small, involving many players, legal team, risk management team, quality control teams, IT teams, and business leadership. The second piece is applying intelligent protection based on that policy. So get that core policy and then determine the technical or tactical items to be implemented. Second to last is monitoring and remediation. So understand where that information is going, who's accessing it, how much control do we actually have over it, and then remediating accordingly. And at last, information protection helps to accelerate the compliance pieces that we mentioned just a bit earlier. Now, some key differentiators via the Microsoft information protection approach is unlocking unified labeling with Microsoft Purview. Leverage the powerful integration of Purview with a streamlined experience across Office 365, including data loss prevention, Purview, and Defender for Cloud apps. With Purview, unlocks the door for over 300 built-in sensitive information types, which correspond with different regulatory constraints, such as GDPR or HIPAA, PCI compliance, ISO compliance. I could go on all day. The custom sensitive information types also allow you to build based off of primarily regex expressions and backed by Microsoft's investment in AI and building a large dictionary ensures further protection on perhaps non-regulatory items and more proprietary items. So some key pieces to get started and get started today um, with using Purview to identify and protect sensitive data. First
Yes.
stop. Yep.
Hey, I'm
I'm
on the
sorry, you
phone.
were saying? Very good. Um, First stop, if you have not done so today, very powerful tool is Microsoft's Purview audit tool. Uh, I would typically recommend to any client if they were spinning up a new tenant today, this would be one of the first places that they should go to and make sure that this is enabled. Um, it While the audit tool is absolutely critical, should you need it for forensic purposes, it is also critical for this function to be enabled in order to enable subsequent purview functions. It can take up to 24 hours for it to complete its activation. So plan on that if you have not started your configuration journey in Purview yet today. Next critical step, and um, I do have to call out that this image is a bit dated. We will look at what this section of configuration looks like in a modern context during the demonstration. However, the principle is still the same. The next spot is to go to the information protection solution and activate several of the features that are not activated by default to start maximizing your investment in Purview. Third critical area, going back to Defender for Cloud Apps, this is another critical first step to build that integration between cloud app protection and Purview in order to facilitate those two solutions working in that holistic fashion. Those critical administrative steps are highly recommended to be executed. And then within a 24-hour period, you should be able to proceed with further feature activations, which we'll go over in the demonstration. To reiterate how to get started with Purview, it starts with strategy. Um, First, define sensitive information. And that goes back to a daunting task within any organization to really define what is sensitive. There's more than likely only a small portion of the data in your landscape today that would qualify as sensitive. Uh, However, that is very often one of the most challenging pieces of this journey to protect your data. Uh, Next, test. Uh, Publish a few labels to end users for testing. That's critical to building up user expectations and understanding of how labels are working in their environment. At this point, the labels do not have to do much more than perhaps provide a display or a watermark on a given document, but it will also expose the different controls and opportunities for end users to be educated on just how labels work. It's a great door opener for the user's journey to fully adopting these tools. Having started the user education process, the next step would be contextual classification. And that's starting to apply the sensitive information that was defined in the first step. So now we're really looking at classifying based on location, based on certain file properties, perhaps, and certainly classifying based off of sensitive information types. Next level of maturity would be around automatic labeling. And this will assist your end users with labeling recommendations. Uh, and more importantly, perhaps protect your most sensitive content at rest with labels without user interaction being required. Now, in parallel with your sensitive information types definition, classification, and automation is data loss prevention. Now, an ideal solution and would incorporate both your labeling strategy and data loss prevention. Full transparency, it is possible to deliver a data loss prevention plan without necessarily incorporating labels. Not necessarily recommended, but it is possible. More data, what data loss prevention brings to the table um, is that Microsoft's DLP solution is a comprehensive solution. It works across different environments and services where sensitive data is stored, used, or shared, including platforms that are not necessarily native to Microsoft, um, as well as, of course, Microsoft services and apps. Microsoft's DLP solution helps organizations consolidate the several individual solutions and save cost. Um, Again, Microsoft DLP is cloud native and managed. It's built for protection for these cloud hosted resources. However, it's also built for protection of your Windows endpoints and beyond. It is certainly possible to design to be completely unified and integrated with the environment, but skipping to the most important part, it's very easy to get started with DLP in relative to certain other solutions with simply default policies and say sensitive data discovery on devices on a day zero basis. I do like to tell my clients that of the Purview solutions, DLP, again, is more of an immediate ROI once it's implemented. And in many scenarios, again, can be implemented on day zero. Few tips on getting started with DLP. Turn on DLP analytics. Always simulate your DLP policies first. That will give you insight into what the potential impact is of the DLP policy and afford you the opportunity to fine tune the conditions to ensure that you strike that balance between security and productivity. And with DLP being implemented, it is, again, relatively easy to set up alerts just based off of the DLP policies. And even within an audit mode, will certainly give insights to user behavior regarding potentially sensitive information. Oh, before we get to the demonstration, just wanted to highlight a few additional considerations for the future. Microsoft is the first security provider to deliver comprehensive solutions for AI, including data security, compliance, security posture management, threat protection, safety systems, and governance capabilities all across Microsoft, including Copilot and its agents, and other enterprise AI such as ChatGTP, consumer AI, and custom AI built solutions. also very important to point out that data security posture management for AI is out of preview today. It's been out of preview for a little bit of time now. If you haven't taken the opportunity to visit this portion of Microsoft Purview, very much encouraged to do so. There are some immediate advantages to looking at the solution. And DSPM for Microsoft, it helps organizations protect that sensitive data used specifically in AI workloads. It will provide visibility into the risks, classifications, and perhaps compliance violations within your user's ecosystem. And by integrating with Purview, it really helps enable organizations to maintain that strong data governance while leveraging AI capabilities securely. You'll note that in DSPM, there are several built-in recommended policies that can be implemented with a click of a button. I do caution clients that applying the recommended DLP and corresponding insider risk policies, it does default to all users in an audit mode. This may not be the best approach for many organizations, as it is better to understand that DLP policy before clicking the button and it's automatic. So much caution for the fortify your data security recommendations. Once you click the button, it's automatic. You will not have the opportunity to fine tune the policy. But that being said, some of the immediate value in DSPM is going to be the reports, particularly the detect unethical behavior in AI apps reports. This really, if you've already adopted certain AI tools, including Copilot, this report will give you immediate insight to any potential abuses that are going on and have not had alerts set up for them accordingly. Now, just a few other items on the roadmap. Auto labeling is ever expanding. The expectation is very soon auto labeling will be able to be expanded to Azure Storage, Azure SQL Server, and even AWS systems. Also on the roadmap, which possibly is available today in some tenants, is new workloads being accessible to labeling, such as Azure SQL, ADLS, and again, those AWS resources, allowing new protection actions and coherence to configure the unified policies and really provide a central pane of glass for your overall data security posture. Another thing to keep an eye on is DLP capabilities in Security Copilot. It's designed to supercharge your security and compliance team's productivity and make their days much easier. Speaking from experience, many security and compliance teams, they are stretched thin as it is, and Security Copilot can be a lifesaver in those situations. So in the interest of time, we're going to move forward, and I'm going to prepare the demonstration. And while we do that, I have a short video to demonstrate the art of the possible and what Microsoft's vision is. And I will be back shortly at the conclusion of this video. test case we're going to look at today is a scenario where we have a user. They've gone into a SharePoint environment and discovered a few documents, or one in particular, this super secret project. Now, we know that we can implement many protections within SharePoint to prevent external sharing of documents. But there is a scenario where perhaps a user decides to download the document and store the document locally so that they could use shadow AI to help them improve the document. This may not be a malicious thing. They're just trying to be productive. So what they may do is download the super secret project document and try to utilize something like who do we want to pick on? Let's pick on Grok. Give Grok a moment to load up here. All right, Grok's back. Good news. All right. So here's our scenario again. We have a user who's downloaded a sensitive document to their desktop or local machine, and they want to use Grok to help them humanize the language or summarize the language in that document. So they're going to upload the file, and this is where we have that potential breach. So we're going to select super secret file, and we'll see. Oh, there we go. Grok's uploaded it, and now I can ask Grok to perform some activities on it. So we want to prevent that simple scenario with a simple solution. So here we see that sensitive document is about a very sensitive potential merger of this given organization. Well, that's no good. We don't want that in any way. And of course, Grok's a reputable AI service, but we're using Grok as a demonstration today because there are many, many other AI tools that are out there that may not be as reputable as Grok. So what can we do to protect this document quickly while enabling users to still use Grok or ChatGPT or any of those other tools for less than sensitive information? So as to strike that balance between productivity and security. Well, we're going to switch over and go through our administrative steps as quickly as possible. There we go. The screen share should be active.
You see it?
So very good. Again, going back to the presentation, this should be your first stop when preparing to utilize Purview and more so your entire 365 tenant. If you do not see the blue bar that was depicted in the slide earlier, activate it. And again, it may take 24 hours before that activation to occur. And then you can subsequently test it once it's been implemented by just doing a simple search for whatever you determine to be a quick search. And that will ultimately verify that it's working. Of course, there's PowerShell methodology to set this up as well, but it is just as easy as just clicking that start button. Frankly, I'm surprised that it's not enabled by default, but that is the case today. So be sure to enable it. The next stop, particular to the case that we're looking at today, is our key solution is going to be data loss prevention. So note that I went to the settings to data loss prevention. This You can go to the solution for data loss prevention. And if you don't see the settings, that's because all of the Purview settings are underneath a particular settings menu. And you may not have these icons when you first visit Purview. Just note that when you go to the solutions, that's where all the different solutions are. First thing to turn on, advanced classification, scanning, and protection. Note, advanced label protection, again, is an item on the roadmap, anticipating this being out of preview any time now. What is key to protecting sensitive documents from being uploaded to not just AI sites, but to any sites in general, is the settings presented here underneath browser and domain restrictions for sensitive data, to which you can establish a blacklist or blacklist for service domains, or you take the alternative approach, and that being a whitelist for very strict access to perhaps just your Microsoft environment and block all websites. That's a possibility. And this is all part of that strategy and those options that you'll have. But what's really important to call out for the purposes of today is the sensitive service domains groups. In particular, every tenant, every instance of Purview should have this list of generative AI websites. Now, looking at the article supporting it, Microsoft has taken the responsibility of collecting virtually every known AI app that is out there today, particularly AI apps that may offer public usage or free usage. So this goes a long way to help eliminate that sort of whack-a-mole approach that some administrators may find themselves in when trying to figure out what are all of the different AI apps that they need to block. Well, Microsoft's taken that responsibility and has provided this as a ever-evolving list. And so we're testing against Grok today. We're going to double check that Grok's in the list. Here we go. We know it's in the list. So we know if we apply this group to our DLP policy, it's going to catch Grok, but it's also going to catch all of these other guys. Few other items to consider. As you're building out your DLP policy, there are many other settings here that are very much of value, may not contribute necessarily to our test case today, but for example, USB controls, printing controls, etc. Other critical piece to the solution is making sure just-in-time protection, or JIT, is turned on for your devices. So we also want to be sure that when we enable JIT, that it's a take a better safe than sorry approach. So if JIT cannot compute the risk of the document in a reasonable amount of time, I would advise the block action that secures and closes the door while any network issues that the user may be facing with that timeout can be resolved and minimize risk. We're going to take a quick step away from Purview, and we're going to go into security.microsoft.com, Microsoft Defender, and there's a setting here that we want to be sure of to build a more comprehensive solution in the future. So again, Defender for Cloud Apps is certainly not replaced by Purview. It's complemented. It works in tandem with Purview. In order to make that connection happen, there is one setting that should be addressed in Defender for Cloud Apps. That is going to be here under Information Protection. enable file monitoring, and Microsoft Information Protection. These are not selected by default, so enabling that will allow you to build much more comprehensive protection policies utilizing Defender for Cloud apps and Purview as a whole. Now, hopping back to Purview, there's a few steps that we want to take to quickly protect that example document. First, we're going to go into information protection. And this is the updated. I called out a slide earlier in the presentation that was dated within the new Purview environment. When you go to information protection, you will be presented with several options to enable certain features. Most critical of which is the data scanning feature, which we don't see here in the setup tasks because, of course, I've already executed it. That being said, this is your next step for configurations from an administrative point of view. Next step to really start protecting that document is to create a sensitivity label to apply to the document as a trigger point. This is not the only way to do this, but it is probably the quickest way. Create your label. You see the options for creating a label. They're pretty straightforward. Add a starting point. Now, there are much more advanced options when you create your label. But simply put, for the purposes of this demonstration, we're just creating a label, and its primary function is just to apply this watermark as a visual marker for the label. But its core function is to be used as a flagging mechanism for the sensitive information. Remember, when you create a label, all you're doing is just that. You're creating a label. It's not necessarily usable until you publish the label. And when you publish the label, that gives you the opportunity to scope it to perhaps particular users or user groups. This is very valuable when you're starting out your Purview journey in order to scope it to a test group rather than distributing the label. Cautionary note with labeling. When you get started, it is critical to test first. If you distribute a label via a publishing policy and it goes into use, it can be a challenge to clean it up if for whatever reason you decide to revoke the label. So again, test, test, test. Just eliminating a label policy will not retract labels that have been applied. So very important piece of the strategy discussion around your Purview implementation. Now, having the label, so we have a label. Next piece is our data loss prevention policy. Now, I did want to demonstrate this is the DSPM policy that was created for purposes of today's demo. This was the DLP policy, and we're going to look at that real quick. In particular, just wanted to highlight settings. This is scoped to the devices. It has its trigger rules set up, and going back to the generative AI websites list, this is where that is applied under service domain and browser activities, and the corresponding action is to block. So I'm going to step out of this.
Doing that, if you do have questions, looks like we're going to be tight on time. Please enter them in the chat window if possible.
Okay, here's our document. Now, in this case, we have applied the label. So the label's on this document now, even though it's downloaded to the user's local machine. So now if I go back into Grok, there we go. Try to upload the file. This time I'm going to select the file that was labeled. There we go. Our DLP policy says no. You're not going to be able to open up this labeled document. You're not going to be able to send it. You can keep on trying. You can keep on knocking, but you can't come in. Uh, so that concludes the demonstration. And I'll turn it over to the team for closing remarks. I really appreciate everybody's time today, and happy to answer any questions. You can always reach out to the Covenant team, and we'll happy to engage.